Continuing from the previous episode 1230. It's almost there. It didn't take long for Xiao Yan's soul power and vindictive energy to recover. At that time, Xiao Yan slowly got up and said to the Soul Eater. Well, not bad. The Soul Eater heard the words, but smiled slowly. However, when the Soul Eater Lord made such a weird laugh, Xiao Yan had a bad feeling. Someone is here, get ready. The next moment, the Master of Soul Eaters stared at the entrance of the 8th floor, and said directly without going out. Someone is here? After being said by Soul Eater Master, Xiao Yan suddenly felt that there were two extremely terrifying auras that were rapidly approaching here. Even one of them actually caused a rather restless uneasiness in the holy flames on his body. Alien evil race. There is no doubt that, with the power of Xiao Yan's fairyland soul at this time, among the two auras, there is one that belongs to the evil race outside the realm. Senior, isn't this ice and fire island imprisoning wicked people? How can there be evil races from outside the territory? Xiao Yan was a little puzzled, and said slowly, Ice-Fire Island is indeed a place where wicked people are imprisoned, but as for why that guy has the aura of the aliens, I am afraid he is willing, or he is controlled by the aliens, just like the blood demons in your Zone 3 days. The Lord of Soul Eater said, I don't know what the overall strength of this extraterritorial evil clan is, and it seems that since the last battle of the Great Thousand Worlds, they have hidden aura and disappeared. Xiao Yan shook his head and said, Hey, little guy, try your best to cultivate, let's not talk about the foreign evil clan, just your Xiao clan. I am afraid you need extremely tyrannical power, so that you can have the right to know the truth. As for the aliens, their overall strength is much stronger than our Douxian world. As for the fact that they have been too quiet for these years without any news of them, I'm afraid they are secretly planning something. When the next world war comes, I am afraid that the entire Douxian world will become lifeless again. The Lord of Soul Eater shook his head and said, Susu. At the moment when the two were talking, at the entrance of the Guardian space on the 8th floor, two groups of black auras slowly came here one after the other. So strong. Two black strands just poured into the Guardian space on the 8th floor, and Xiao Yan suddenly forcibly endured the tyrannical pressure and said slowly, The ape of the earth, it's just right. Among the two black chi, the later black chi slowly opened its mouth. This black chi is the wicked person on the 2nd floor, the aura of a dark demon. HMPH, dark demons, each other. The other group of black air snorted coldly and spoke directly, so that the dark air couldn't help shaking because of the dark demon's breath. Although they are only the gap between the 2nd layer and the 3rd layer, but the difference in strength is not small, and the dark devil will be imprisoned on the Ice-Fire Island, because this guy is a human, but he is invested in the foreign evil race. Among the forces, he was arrested and imprisoned here by the great power of Li Hanyu. You're still like this. The dark demon didn't bother to talk nonsense with the Earth Ape. After all, the Earth Ape's predecessor was a human, and its strength was not very good. If it weren't for the protection of the Soul Earth Ape, I'm afraid it would have fallen under the seal. Why are you here? The Earth Ape naturally said directly, not afraid of the dark demon. This guy, I have to take it away. The dark demon heard the words, and his attention in the black gas slowly turned to Xiao Yan. Being stared at by this dark demon's power, even Xiao Yan was in a cold sweat. You don't have to think about it to know that the strength of the two guys in front of you is too strong. Take him away? Why? When the Earth Ape heard the words, he exuded a violent aura, obviously dissatisfied with the words of the dark demon. I know that you have the blessing of fighting Soul Earth Monkey. I am not your opponent in this state, but don't forget who my master is. Don't say it's your mere Earth Ape, or even the master of Li Soul Domain. I'm afraid I wouldn't dare to be disrespectful to my master. The dark demon exclaimed slowly. Humph. It's just a demon of darkness, but you're just a human traitor, a lackey of an alien race. Today, whether it's public or private, I won't let you take this guy away. The Earth Monkey said slowly, his voice full of majesty. Earth Ape, can't you find death? When the Earth Ape said this, the dark demon couldn't help roaring angrily. Xiao Yan clearly possesses the holy flame in his body, and as believers of the foreign evil clan, their purpose is naturally to find the holy flame, so as to send the news of the holy flame back to the foreign evil clan, so that the power of the foreign evil clan can take action and bring the holy flame back to the foreign evil clan. Yan completely suppressed, or laid the foundation for the next world war. It's just a waste, the Earth Btth2 said, and then slowly stared at the dark demon's black energy. Once this guy showed any signs of making a move, he would do it without hesitation. After all, no matter what, this dark demon is just a chess piece under the dark demon. Although he needs the power of holy flame to get rid of his bondage, as a human being in the world, he will not helplessly watch holy flame fall. The claws of the alien race. Junior thanked the senior. Xiao Yan resisted the pressure released by the two powerhouses, and then cupped his hands and said to the black air of the earth monkey. At first, Xiao Yan was really confused, but at this moment, he also understood the purpose of these two guys. It's too early to say thank you now. This guy is very strong. He has been gifted since childhood. In addition to the evil power given to him by the dark demon, even I can't match him. The earth monkey said slightly to Xiao Yan. It's troublesome now. Xiao Yan couldn't help but look awkward since this dark demon is loyal to the demon of darkness. It must not be easy. The devil of light and darkness. It's really an old rival. The next moment, the always calm Soul Eater Lord suddenly activated the Soul Eater talisman. Immediately, a mysterious force that devoured all souls slowly spread in all directions with a special law. And with the Master of Soul Eater doing this, the wicked person imprisoned in the first floor at the lowest part of Icefire Island, whose original lifeless appearance, suddenly opened his pupils suddenly, and then an incomparably tyrannical soul force suddenly rushed out. The place of imprisonment, towards the 8th floor. Hunyuzi, what are you doing? And just as the tyrannical soul force suddenly left the place of imprisonment and rushed towards the 8th floor, passing through the guardian space on the 1st floor, a dragon resounded through the heavens and the earth. Roar, suddenly exuded. Go away for Ben Immortal. Lord, is it really your breath? And the soul power emanating from the captivity on the 1st floor, with a roar, instantly shattered the guardian's obstruction, and then moved towards the 8th floor. This lunatic, such a tyrannical seal, actually broke through. He was shaken back by a roar, and the dragon's roar disappeared, but it left an indelible shock in his heart. There's another one that should be around 7/8 o'clock. End of this chapter. Continuing from the previous episode 1231. If that's the case, where do I need my help? Xiao Yan heard the words and interjected. After all, he is also a fairyland soul now. Although his strength is in front of the Soul Eater and the Ghost Son, he is like playing a family, but for resurrection I'm afraid that no one is better at refining the body than himself. You kid, now you know you care about your master? The Soul Eater scolded with a smile. Hee. Sir Xiao Yan doesn't have to be like this. The master is different from your human beings. Our ghost world creatures have been soul bodies since childhood. When our strength reaches a certain level, we can automatically cultivate human bodies. And the resurrection in our ghost world only needs to complete the power of the soul, or even complete the lost source. As for the body, it is trivial for us. Ghost Son said. Until now, Gloomy Soul Son carefully looked at Xiao Yan, but what made Gloomy Soul Son strange is that although this guy's strength is only in the middle stage of 1-star fighting immortal, there is a feeling that Gloomy Soul Son can't see through. The Xiao clan is involved too much, and I can't reveal too much to Lord Xiao Yan. Yu Soul Son shook his head and said. After the two of them finished speaking, it was now transferred to the Master of Soul Eater. At this time, only the Master of Soul Eater was the most anxious. To supplement the power of the soul, only some simple medicinal materials are needed. Although it is rare, I will live on Xiao Yan's body next time. It is estimated that it will not be difficult to find. However, as for the source of my soul that I lost when I was burned by the power of holy flames by the Lord of Souls, there is nothing that can't be restored. Lord of Soul Eater said with a scheming look. What? Xiao Yan and Yu Hunzi said at the same time. Xiao Yan came to the ghost world for the sole purpose of the Master of Soul Eater. As long as the matter of the Master of Soul Eater is resolved, then Xiao Yan will go back to Do Di Sifang continent, continue to look for Zuner and resolve Xiao Yan's century-old contract as soon as possible. Even Xiao Clan's secrets. 7 Crossing the Soul Cup. The Lord of Soul Eater opened his mouth slightly. What? Chidu-inducing Soul Cup? And as the understatement of Soul Eater's voice just fell, Gloomy Soul Child's face couldn't help but turn ugly. If it is other things, then the Ghost Son naturally has a lot of ways, but for this thing, I am afraid there is really no way. The Chidu Yinhunzen is almost the treasure of Li Soul territory. It is placed in the hands of the 4 major academies that control the entire Li Sol territory under the Master of Li Sol. Even if the Lord of Li Sol wants to use it, I am afraid that it must be approved by the 4 great courts, and the efficacy of this thing, I am afraid that no one except the Lord of Li Sol knows. But those 4 courtyards are the very top forces under Li Sol territory. Even if it is my 6-star Douxian strength, I am afraid there will be no return. Ghostly Soul's face was not very good looking, and he said word by word. Haha, it's great to have a goal. And for me, if I want to return to the peak, it must be this thing, because I have seen a detailed record about the Qidu Diversion Soul Cup from an ancient book. The Lord of Soul Eater said, Lord, leave this matter to me. Ghost Soul pondered for a while, and then said, forget it, leave this to me. As the top forces in Li Sol domain, the 4 courtyards are bound to be heavily defended, and it is definitely not possible to come here clearly. Now the ratio of Eastern continents is imminent. If you win the ratio of Eastern continents, you can go to the ratio of 4 continents. If you win the ratio of 4 continents, you have the opportunity to enter the 4 great courts. Xiao said with a smile. This way, is it really possible? But the ghostly soul's eyes floated uncertainly. Trust him, this little guy has brought me a lot of surprises. The Lord of Soul Eater said, Yep, Master, I won't go with you this time. In order to prevent Li Sol Territory's senior management from discovering your trace, as soon as you leave Icefire Island, I will lift the seal and return to soul-devouring territory, so as to contact Master Hao near. After Master Xiao successfully joined the 4th Academy, carry out the plan to *** the Qidu Diversion Soul Cup. When the time comes to take away the Qidu-inducing Soul Cup and help the Master recover his strength, it will be time to settle accounts with Li Hanyu. Yu Soul Sun spoke slowly, his voice full of joy. Yep, but before planning, let's mention the strength of this little guy. The next moment, the Master of Soul Eater smiled. There seems to be some familiar fluctuations on him? Hearing this, Gloomy Soul also smiled slowly. The next moment, Xiao heard the words, and he no longer hesitated, and directly took out the dragon blood crystal from the ground. Earth Dragon Blood Crystal? Seeing this, Gloomy Soul couldn't help but exclaimed in surprise. He is very clear about the value of this thing, but the people in the ghost world are disordered, and because of the soul body, most of them are not suitable for using Earth Dragon Blood Crystals for body forging. There should be a place suitable for the volatilization of dragon blood crystals in this island of ice and fire, right? The Soul Eater said slightly. Master, yes. The ghost heard the words, and then said slowly. You take him there. Take him to the blood pond and come back. You and I still have some things to negotiate. The Soul Eater said with a smile. The disciple has thanked the Master. Seeing this, Xiao also directly bowed his hands and gave a big gift to the Master of Soul Eater. Without guessing, Xiao knew that after the dragon blood crystal forged his body, he was obviously going to practice the 9 transformations of the dragon god. If the Master of Soul Eater was on the side, it would inevitably be leaked. Although Xiao did not think that the Master of Soul Eater was such a person, but the action of the Soul Eater made Xiao quite grateful. After all, no matter what, on the one hand, my uncle taught me the treasures of the Dragon Clan, and on the other hand, I was the Master of the Soul Eater who protected him. In this case, it was a good way to avoid suspicion, otherwise such trivial matters would be swayed by those of the Dragon Clan in the future. You wise old antique knew that it was undoubtedly another headache. Okay, let's go. I just happen to have some things about Soul Eater domain that I want to instruct Ghosts on. The Soul Eater Lord smiled. Ghost Soul nodded slowly, and then that touch of soul power directly wrapped Xiao and then turned into a stream of light, heading towards the outer layer of Icefire Island. The 5th floor of Ice and Fire Island. This is. And even if the ghostly soul is a trace of soul power, it instantly avoided the perception of the other guardians and easily came to the 5th floor. After arriving on the 5th floor, Xiao suddenly discovered that there was an incomparably huge pool in front of it. The pool is oval in shape, and the seemingly transparent pool water slowly exudes a mysterious mist, which is quite mysterious. I've already set up the barrier, and the barrier time is long enough for you to absorb the dragon blood crystals and other things. When the handover between me and the Master is over, the Master will come over, and the Master will always be attached to your body until you successfully enter the 4 courtyards of Li Hanyu. Ghost Soul said. Senior, Don't worry, this junior will naturally try his best. Xiao Yan nodded slowly after hearing this. I'm still very relieved about the master's vision. But you should try not to reveal the identity of your Xiao clan. Because I have been imprisoned for all these years, this guy from Li Hunyu and the center of the human world are very close, and there is always a premonition that it is not good for your Xiao family. Gloomy Soul Sun shook his head and said, without stopping, directly returning to the first layer for a stream of light. Dragon God 9 transformations, Earth Dragon Blood Crystal. Fighting Soul. This time, I must become stronger. And being said by Nether Soul Sun, Xiao Yan's determination to become stronger became stronger and stronger. There is a chapter that will be posted at 12 o'clock. I am in the hospital with my friends. I don't know how many times. Thank you for your tips and support. Today's update will be at 1 p.m. End of this chapter. Continuing from the previous episode 1232. How are things going? Ghost Soul had just returned to the first floor of the prison, and suddenly the phantom of the Soul Eater Lord slowly stood on the Soul Eater talisman, and then asked Ghost Soul. Lord Xiao Yan has settled down. I believe that with the Earth Dragon's blood crystals and blood pawns, they will definitely be reborn in the near future. Ghostly Soul said with a smile. It's so good. The Soul Eater also said with a gratified smile. Lord, there is a question that I haven't quite understood. The next moment, looking at the Soul Eater who was in a somewhat happy mood, Gloomy Soul said softly, as if he was afraid of disturbing the leisure and elegance of the Soul Eater. What's the matter? Tell me. The Soul Eater asked when he heard the words. Why did the Xiao clan mysteriously disappear overnight? Even the vassal race behind it was wiped out overnight. Ghostly Soul asked in a low voice. What is the existence of the Xiao clan? The Xiao clan was the top 5 transcendental forces in the entire human world before, and even with the countless vassal races behind it, their strength was unfathomable. But even the tyrannical Xiao clan disappeared mysteriously on the night just after the First World War. Even the countless vassal races behind him disappeared along with him, and with all these, many humans speculated that the Xiao clan was mutinous. Could it be that, as some human beings thought, their battle with the aliens was just to fool humans? After defeating the aliens, they went to the aliens overnight with all the vassal forces behind them. This is enough to explain the strangeness of the Xiao family. Reason for disappearance. But if this is the case, then why did the Xiao clan go to great lengths to fight with the foreign evil clan? With the strength of the Xiao clan, if they partnered with the foreign evil clan, I'm afraid it would be a real disaster in the world. However, Gloomy Soul Sun obviously won't believe this kind of statement. After all, no matter what, the Xiao clan's hatred for the foreign evil clan during the war between the heavens and the earth, and all the power they used to deal with the foreign evil clan, and so on, it was enough to show that the Xiao clan could not defect to them at all. And if the Xiao clan would not go to the evil clan outside the realm, why would they disappear in a single night? You must know that the power of the Xiao clan alone is enough to equal half of their Soul Eater domain, or even the top combat power. Soul Eater domain cannot compare with the Xiao clan. In the battle of heaven and earth, the spirit of the Xiao clan, who are not afraid of death, is always at the forefront of the battle, almost resisting the most tyrannical enemy, killing countless foreign evil clans, and at the same time suffering heavy losses, but they did so. Xiao clan, why did they disappear? Moreover, the Xiao clan had just disappeared, and the strong people in the center of the human world also stood up to spread rumors, which made the ghostly soul a little puzzled. The center of the human world is probably more or less related to the disappearance of the Xiao clan, but there is no conclusive evidence, and no one dares to say it. This matter, not only you are puzzled, but even many of us are puzzled. The Xiao family's power is too huge. If they want to annex them overnight, I am afraid that only the centers of all circles in the 7 worlds can do this. After all, at the center of each world, there are countless overlords of that world. The Soul Eater shook his head and said, As for the vassal races you mentioned disappearing, I'm afraid it's not that simple, said Soul Eater Zaidu. Xiao clan, it's really a pity. When their Xiao clan's fighting ** was in the war between heaven and earth, in order to deal with the real king of the foreign evil clan, he almost fell. The Xiao family paid so much for Douxian world, but ended up disappearing in a mysterious and strange way. Really, Ghostly Soul's soul power slowly exuded a trace of regret. Hey, although the Xiao clan has fallen, and many forces have vaguely guessed that the disappearance of the Xiao clan is probably secretly planned by some supreme beings in the Seven Realms. But if Xiao Yan grows up, these things are just floating clouds. Although there are many forces that hate the Xiao clan's hospitable and simple character allows them to have more allies than we imagined in the vast world. Once Xiao Yan grows up, summon those allies, and then the time comes. In this vast world, I am afraid there will be a very exciting scene. And at that time, I'm afraid it will be the real time to solve the secret of the disappearance of the Xiao clan. The Soul Eater said with a smile. However, although the Xiao clan was completely wiped out and disappeared, the guardian who guarded the Xiao clan remained. They seem to know something. Ghostly Soul said with a slow smile. I remember that the guardian of the Xiao family has been moving, and he has no fixed place, as if he is avoiding someone's pursuit. There was a strange fluctuation in the eyes of the Lord of Soul Eater, and he said slowly. By the way, Yama of the 10th Palace has not disappeared. They are obviously seriously injured and are now recuperating in Xiao Yan's body. The Lord of Soul Eater spoke up. What? 10 Temple Yama? When the Master of Soul Eater said so, Yu Soul Child couldn't help but be surprised. The 10 Temple Yama, this is the most noble power of the guardian lineage of the Xiao clan. Yama of the 10 halls is impressively 10 strong men. The prestige of these 10 powerhouses, even the Ghost Sons, is still vivid in his mind. In the war between heaven and earth, Yama of the 10 temples has been following the Xiao clan, killing countless foreign evil clans. Among the 10 hall Yamas, there are many who are weaker than themselves, and some are more powerful than themselves, but among the 10 hall Yamas, the strongest will not surpass the Soul Eater Lord. After all, 10 hall Yamas are only the guardians of the Xiao clan. And the Lord of Soul Eater is the true supreme of the 3 domains of the ghost world. The strength of Yama of the 10 halls should not be underestimated. Even in my peak period, there is not much chance of winning against 10 of them at the same time. This time, I will go to the main domain of Li Soul Domain, and I will try to wake up the 10th Palace Yan Luo, just to ask about the secret of the disappearance of the Xiao clan. Although I don't know the Xiao family very well, the courage shown by the Xiao family to deal with the evil people outside the territory and the qualities shown by this little guy Xiao Yan now make me quite fond of this family. The Lord of Soul Eater said with a smile. Everything is up to the Lord. Hearing the words, Ghost Soul said slowly and solemnly. The matter of the Xiao family is like this first. You take this Soul Eater talisman and go look for Niyar. I believe she will understand what you said after seeing the Soul Eater talisman. And with the blessing of the Soul Eater talisman, if you want to break through this seal, it's a matter of course. After the Lord of Soul Eater finished, the Soul Eater talisman was directly cut off by him, and then went to the soul of the Ghost Son. Lord, this thing is yours. Seeing this, the ghostly soul child was hurriedly shocked. Lord of Soul Eater talisman. If there is no Soul Eater talisman, how can it be called the Lord of Soul Eater? Don't worry, with this guy Xiao Yan, I don't need to take action for the time being. The Soul Eater said Zaidu. My subordinates obey. Hearing the words, Ghost Soul did not refuse, and carefully put the Soul Eater talisman into his body. Next, let's wait for this little guy to successfully exit the customs. The Soul Eater Lord lowered his voice slightly, his eyes seemed to penetrate the restraints of space, and he slowly saw where Xiao Yan was in the distance. 5 more today, December 15th, 16, 17, 18th. End of this chapter. Continuing from the previous episode 1233. Tisk tisk tisk. The temperature of this blood pool is really terrifying. If it weren't for the protection of the holy flame, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to bear it for long. Xiao Yan took off his clothes and slowly immersed in the blood pool, feeling the blood pools different from ordinary people. High temperature, open the mouth. This place is said to be a blood pond, but in fact it contains some clear and transparent water, but just after Xiao Yan soaked it, a burning sensation of burning came instantly. It seems clear and transparent, but it is actually burning hot. The blood pool is well deserved. According to what the master said, I should first devour the fighting spirit, and use the power of the fighting spirit to be more confident in the following things. Then I will melt the earth dragon blood crystal into the blood pool, so that the body can better absorb the earth dragon. The power of blood crystals, so as to cultivate the 9 transformations of the dragon god. Xiao Yan endured the inhuman burning sensation in the blood pool, and carefully recalled what the Soul Eater had explained to him before. I don't know if this fighting spirit will allow me to break through to the one-star fighting immortal. Xiao Yan muttered, and then without hesitation, his pupils closed suddenly, facing the fighting spirit stored in the sea of fighting qi in his body. Ever since it was sealed in the Do Qi Sea by Xiao Yan, the undead Minkyu had quietly turned into a piece of paper. Nothing was wrong. At this time, Xiao Yan's huge soul power had just poured into the Do Qi Sea. The undead Minkyu seemed to have found something, and wriggled slightly. "Senior, how offended." Xiao Yan muttered silently in his heart, and then without hesitation, the dazzling soul force directly transported the piece of paper that sealed the immortal ghost to the top of the blood pool. What a pure energy! Xiao Yan looked at the piece of paper that sealed the undead ghost, and a trace of pure power flowed out. He couldn't help but his greedy face floated a few times. This piece of light group paper was originally given to him for sealing by helping Kang Qi defeat the Nether Kings, but the effect of the sealing is really unremarkable. The seal. Break. At the next moment, Xiao Yan didn't have any extra thoughts, and the dazzling soul wave slowly moved towards the seal light group. At that time, the tyrannical seal suddenly showed a trace of cracks, and it didn't take long. A clicking sound slowly emerged. He, boy, we meet again. At the next moment, a gloomy laughter slowly emerged. Senior Immortal Minkyu. Seeing this, Xiao Yan was not overly surprised, but said calmly. After all, if Immortal Minkyu was not willing to follow him and actively find a way to seal himself in the sea of fighting qi, I am afraid Xiao Yan no fighting spirit yet. It's only been so long, I didn't expect your strength to reach the middle stage of the one-star fighting immortal. Immortal Minkyu just appeared, and immediately turned into a red-robed man, staring at Xiao Yan and said. To tell the truth, this time to summon the senior, it is necessary to devour the fighting spirit to strengthen oneself. Xiao Yan said, Okay, for a while, you can directly use the power of Holy Flame to erase my spiritual wisdom and extract my origin. When you devour the origin, you will have the power of my undead ghost fighting soul. Undying Ghost Red Robe. The man didn't seem to be worried at all, and said slightly. Senior, you. And looking at the undead Minkyu who didn't struggle at all, Xiao Yan was a little helpless. Obviously, why did this guy agree so easily? When others devour the fighting spirit, they go to great lengths to reduce the fighting spirit's resistance. It's better that this undead ghost, without any resistance, even a trace of, happy? Ahem. It's getting late, hurry up, be a big man, mother-in-law, mother-in-law. Seeing Xiao Yan in a sluggish state, Immortal Minkyu directly laughed and scolded. The reason why the Immortal Minkyu was so eager was because he saw Xiao Yan's potential. Xiao Yan possessed holy flames, and the exercises he practiced must also be Fenju. In addition to his age, he possesses such tyrannical strength, so his future achievements may also be. As for Fenju, many supernatural beings are vaguely aware that by cultivating this technique, their future achievements are limitless. Although the fighting spirit was swallowed and turned into a part of Xiao Yan, if Xiao Yan broke through the level of fighting immortals, he would undoubtedly be able to gain a new life without dying. In fact, the Immortal Minkyu is also gambling. Once Xiao Yan can break through Douxian in the future, then he will follow suit, but if he can't, I am afraid that his end will be the same as Xiao Yan, and he will not be able to escape. But in the final analysis, they are all earned by the undead. After all, these creatures, whether they are beasts, spirit beasts, or even fighting spirits, their strength increases with the increase of time. Even if they do not practice, they will survive for a long time. Yes, the strength is also rising. But the extremes turn against them. Their tyrannical strength will lead to divine condemnation. From Douxian to 9 stars, every time they break through a star, they will attract a divine condemnation. The divine condemnation is tyrannical again and again, and the so-called divine condemnation is more than the Douxian. The robbery is more tyrannical. Immortal Minkyu just broke through Douxian and survived a scourge. At that time, even with the help of Kang Qi and others, he almost fell. All kinds of undead Minkyu are eager to turn into Xiao Yan's fighting spirit. The fighting soul of human beings does not need to experience the scourge anymore, but at best they have lost their freedom and wisdom. Okay. Hearing this, Xiao Yan didn't hesitate, and the bright blue-yellow flame instantly filled his fingertips, and then slowly wrapped around the piece of paper that sealed the immortal sparrow. Wow! The immortal dwarf bird was entangled by such a hot and sacred flame, and the red-robed man's body disappeared instantly, thus revealing his body. The undead dwarf bird, which was as huge as 100 meters in size, gave Xiao Yan a touch with just a glance. Heavy, and the undead ghost that showed its body was roasted by Xiao Yan's sacred holy flame. There was a trace of fiery red all over its body, and even a trace of gray flame was emitted from the heart, and that gray flame, unexpectedly, it can't stand still with Xiao Yan's blue-yellow flames. To be with, Xiao Yan's blue-yellow flame is the fusion product of two holy flames, the 35th ranked Fire Heart Skyrock and the 24th ranked Ghost Face Soul Flame, both of which are afraid of the gray color of this undead ghost. The flame is enough to show that the undead fire, which is related to the undead ghost, is powerful. Little guy, I hope you won't let me down. After a while, only a trace of spiritual wisdom left in the undead Minkyu was directly refined by Xiao Yan's holy flame, leaving the last trace of voice in the space. Peefed. With a sound, all the spiritual wisdom of the undead underworld sparrow was dissipated by it, and then an undying underworld sparrow covered in fiery red slowly stood in front of Xiao Yan. At this time, the immortal ghost bird does not have any intelligence, it is like a dead thing, and there is only that huge and pure power. Congratulations to send off the seniors. Xiao Yan looked at the undead Minkyu like this, and he also respected the undead Minkyu in his heart. Let's get started. The next moment, after waiting for the immortal bird's intelligence to dissipate, Xiao Yan spoke slowly, with a touch of excitement in his voice. Fighting spirit. After swallowing the fighting spirit, it is impossible to increase Xiao Yan's strength, and even his combat power will skyrocket after possessing the fighting spirit. Originally, Xiao Yan's combat power was extremely terrifying. If he had a fighting spirit, he would probably become a mobile destroyer. End of this chapter. Continuing from the previous episode 1234. The fighting spirit is a special form that can only be swallowed by the strong fighting immortals. After devouring the fighting spirit, it can greatly increase its combat power, fight against others, and summon the fighting spirit to attach itself to the surface of the body. Its own strength is combined with the unique power of the fighting spirit. Combining the two, the battle may be presented. Geometric multiple increase. However, this also has many requirements for swallowing the fighting spirit. After fighting immortals, the differentiation and restraint of attributes is extremely important. The powerhouses of the same level and strength, fighting skills, and even the mutual restraint of attributes will undoubtedly become the key to affecting the battle. And devouring the fighting spirit also has many attributes. As the fighting spirit of the predecessor of Undying Fire, Undead Minkyu must have a lot to do with Undying Fire, but Undying Minkyu did not tell Xiao Yan any news about Undying Fire. The immortal sparrow itself is the predecessor of the immortal fire, so its attribute is naturally fire. In addition to Xiao Yan as a pharmacist, the two attributes of fire and wood, the immortal sparrow is for Xiao Yan at this time. Quite fit. If nothing else, Xiao Yangguang is a fire attribute, which means that he is stronger than ordinary people who cultivate the fire attribute. In addition to the holy flame and the fire attribute immortal sparrow now swallowed, I am afraid that Xiao Yan is a fire attribute. Invincible existence. Hoo-hoo. Breath adjustment is over. Xiao Yan slowly opened his pupils, and then looked at the immortal ghost bird that was almost covering the entire blood pool, and couldn't help but exclaimed. Originally, because of the lifting of the seal and the refining of the undead nymph, some power was consumed. Xiao Yan naturally had to be fully prepared before he dared to devour the fighting spirit. After all, although the undead nymph at this time had no psyche, only pure energy was left. But the resistance generated by instinct should not be sloppy. This big guy, Xiao Yan smiled slowly. Come on. The next moment, Xiao Yan's eyes became deep, and then the fire attribute circular fighting spirit in his body revolved at a high speed, and the Fenju deep in his body also revolved rapidly, slowly dispersing a tyrannical suction force. Go to the undead ghost. Devouring the fighting spirit is not the same as you usually do, swallowing the power of the fighting spirit into the body. Because the fighting spirit is a whole, it cannot use the most primitive devouring. And the way of swallowing it is to let the huge fighting spirit cover your body, let the fighting spirit adapt to your body, your strength, and your will, so that you can control the fighting spirit. After the swallowing is successful, it will be attached to the surface of your body forms a fighting spirit. You can compare the fighting spirit to your armor, summon it when you need it, and remove it when you don't need it. Xiao Yan just started, and suddenly recalled what the Soul Eater had said earlier. To devour the fighting soul, you must first use the soul power to overlap the fighting soul's body with your own body. Remember that you can only use the soul power, and you cannot move. The reason for this is to make the fighting soul adapt to your own soul power in advance. Quote, "It can't be swallowed directly, otherwise this guy's energy is too huge and it will explode. I want to control my body, so that it can adapt to my strength and soul." Xiao Yan calmed down and did not rush to swallow it, but repeated the words of the Soul Eater. Crash! At the next moment, as if he suddenly understood something, Xiao Yan directly controlled his huge soul power and slowly moved the undead ghost shrouded above the blood pool. This guy is too big, so he can't be smaller. After a few breaths, Xiao Yan found that he was a little far away from the top of the blood pool controlled by the undead Minkyu, and within a few breaths, however, he moved it a little bit, and even the distance moved was negligible, so he shook his head. "Come here." The next moment, Xiao Yan's stubborn temper came up. The soul power and the holy flame power were directly directed at the undead ghost, but this time, this guy actually didn't move. Quote. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yan couldn't help rolling his eyes. "It seems that we can only take it slowly." Xiao Yan smiled helplessly when he saw this. The next moment, he was directly controlling the power of his soul, and slowly moved the position of the immortal ghost to his own position. 1 minute, 10 minutes, an hour. Time passed slowly. Finally, this kind of movement like a snail. On the third day, the body of the undead ghost finally slowly overlapped with Xiao Yan's body. Next, I'm afraid that's the most important thing. Seeing the overlapping figures of the two, Xiao Yan couldn't help but take a deep breath and said solemnly. "And the second step, after the two of you overlap, the power of the fighting spirit and your power will have an extremely strong impact. Remember to protect your heart, and you must not be washed away by the power of the fighting spirit, otherwise, everything is in vain. And the most important step in the second step is to transfer your own power into the body of the fighting spirit, so as to replace its power and pour your power into the body of the fighting spirit, and the original energy of the fighting spirit is the influx into your body. As for whether you can break through the one-star fighting immortal, it depends on your own good fortune." Seeing the success of the first step, the mind of the Lord of Soul Eater appeared in his mind. "I still don't believe it. I, the dignified and dignified Emperor Yan of Wanhuo, can't deal with a small fighting spirit." Xiao Yan slowly closed his eyes and looked at the fiery red immortal ghost bird that was nearly 100 meters in size outside his body. Couldn't help saying, "Wow." The undead Minkyu seemed to have sensed the danger. With its instinct, it made a very strange cry. It had just merged with Xiao Yan's body. At that time, it exuded an extremely violent aura, just like the most primitive aura of a demon beast. Shot at Xiao Yan frantically, as if he wanted to obliterate and devour Xiao Yan. "It's good to come." Seeing this, Xiao Yan murmured, and then the dazzling soul power and fighting chi shot directly at the fiery red fighting chi. To deal with violence, violence can only be overcome by violence. Boom! The dazzling attack exploded directly, and then the immortal ghost bird without intelligence seemed to be a little afraid of Xiao Yan, and couldn't help but let out a resentful cry. The dazzling fiery red flame was attacking Xiao Yan. And go! Boom! Boom boom boom! The undead Minkyu attacked again and again, trying to obliterate Xiao Yan, thereby taking away Xiao Yan's body. But Xiao Yan only defended and could not attack, and let the immortal Minkyu attack so arrogantly, it was all being attacked. Xiao Yan resisted. "Looking at your breath is also wilting. It's not bad." When he noticed that the breath of the immortal bird had been waning, Xiao Yan's pupils slowly opened, and then the first layer of the spiritual palace in his body flashed brightly. A wave of incomparably tyrannical soul fluctuations linked to www.novelmtl.com leaning directly on the undead ghost. At the same time, 2 khaki and cyan holy flame crystals also appeared in Xiao Yan's hands, and then 2 drops of liquid that were quite crystal silver slowly disappeared towards the phantom of the undead ghost. "GG," a strange chirping sounded slowly, and with Xiao Yan's method, the body of the undead ghost that was originally wrapped in the fiery red flame was slowly wrapped by the power of Xiao Yan's blue-yellow holy flame, and a more powerful wave than before slowly radiated out. Wang Om! This change only lasted for a few minutes. At that time, Undead Ming completely gave up resistance and let Xiao Yan assimilate. At this time, it had obviously become Xiao Yan's fighting spirit. Wait, what is this? And realizing that the undead Might Sparrow gradually lost all resistance, Xiao Yan just wanted to laugh, but found that a fiery red flame and a faint gray flame directly escaped from the body of the undead ghost, and then abruptly went towards Xiao Yan's body of fighting spirit and burning determination. In the end, the fiery red flame and gray flame directly filled Xiao Yan, Do He and Fenju, and then Xiao Yan's aura suddenly soared. Crash! 1-star fighting immortal late stage. 1-star fighting immortal is complete. Half-step 2-star fighting immortal early stage. Early stage of 2-star fighting immortals. Aware of this sudden scene, Xiao Yan's brows couldn't help but show a touch of shock. End of this chapter.